What's up, baseball family? Welcome to our Thursday Night Live. We apologize for being a couple of minutes late, but after a road trip, that's what happens. You're going to get technical difficulties.
Yes.
But we're very excited to be here with you, baseball family. And I'm Brig, and I've got Brad driving with me. How are you, Mr. Brad?
I'm doing well, thank you. I have a little bit different drink in my beverage tonight, so we'll see how it goes.
Oh, yeah. What you got?
It's
Tell us.
Dr. Pepper Zero with creamy coconut.
And
This is the second one I've had this week, and you know how many Dr. Peppers I've had in the last 20 years?
two.
This makes number 2.
Yeah, I knew it. Well, I got my
So,
little kombucha here. Golden pineapple. It's very exciting. It was the most sparkling thing we had in the house, and I was like, I need a little fuzzy fuzz for tonight. So that's what I got.
Yep.
Anyway, baseball family, we're excited to be here as always. Before we get started, we want to just go ahead and reinforce the idea that baseball really is better together. We were at the Atlanta Braves game on Monday, and we met the coolest guys. We saw Jason and Jordan. They were so awesome. Sorry, guys, we don't know your last name, but that's probably for the best, actually.
I was going to say, I think they wanted it that way.
You get a bunch of fan mail. You don't want to handle that. It's hard. Anyway, we were yucking it up and making jokes the whole time, and it's just better. So thank you, Jason and Jordan, for making our time in Atlanta the most fun and doing baseball together with us.
Mhm.
All right, Brad, let's jump into the important things.
Let's
First,
do it.
the Blue Jays, I mean, they're on the struggle bus. They might be driving the struggle bus at this point. Bottom of the barrel in the East, and they have not had a postseason win since 2016. Did you realize that?
It makes a lot of sense, actually. Because I remember hearing them saying stuff like that when the Mariners were playing them a couple of years ago.
I didn't expect it to have been that long. It doesn't feel like they're in that big a drought, but I guess they are. So I also did some research, and a mind-blowing 65% of their roster, their active roster, is going to be up for free agency within the next 2 years.
Makes sense because they kind of pulled everybody together at the same time.
They did. Two of the names on that list are Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr., and they are also heavily rumored trade targets or trade pieces, depending on which side of the table you're sitting on, which fountain pen you're holding, I suppose. So Mark Feinsand of MLB.com spoke with an unnamed Blue Jays executive who said they've already talked to teams, quote, but the asking prices are ridiculous, also quotes. That makes a lot of sense given that it's this early in the season that nobody really knows what's going to happen. But Brad, I did want to spin the what if game wheel a little bit and see, what do you think? First of all, do you think that they will get traded this season or not?
Well, I mean, you look at them right now, they're 23 and 26, like you said, sitting at the bottom of the barrel. They're 10 and a half back in the division, but they're only 3 back in the wild card. That's a good weekend away from the wild card, right?
Yeah.
So I think it depends on where they're at come July. Give them another month or so, and I think that then that's when we're going to find out what they're going to do with this team. Right now, it's still I know, how long can you say it's early, right?
It's starting to get too late to say early.
Right. Yes, it's starting to get too late for it to still be early, but nonetheless, it is still pretty early because we've seen teams at about this point have about this record, go on a tear, make the playoffs. So they're not out of the race yet. Certainly 3 games back in the wild card, they're not out by any stretch of the imagination. They wouldn't be out at the beginning of September 3 games back. We'd be like, man, those Blue Jays.
Correct.
Right? But the difference is the way they've been playing and the fact that they're sitting under 500. I understand that. So I think we give them another month. I think they're they're going to have to start looking at stuff at the beginning of July. And then they're going to probably drag it out until the trade deadline.
Oh, they'll drag it. Is this some? Yeah. Well, you just answered my question. So, okay, I did a little bit of digging. Bo Bichette has played in 45 games. He has 15 runs, 11 RBIs, 40 hits, 11 walks, 3 homers. Right now, he's batting 233. Yikes! 289, 349, and his fielding percentage is a solid 978. So, offensively in a slump, I think it's safe to say. Defensively, seems to still be holding water. No big deal. Vlad, 48 games played, 21 runs, 22 RBIs, 51 hits, 27 walks. That's the surprising one. And he's batting 279, 374, and 483. Fielding percentage also at a 989. Not too shabby for Vlad.
Mm-hmm.
He's really pulled it together as of late. I thought that he was driving the struggle bus, but the numbers
he's been better. But it is interesting though, because it's like what you said. I'm sure that the asking price has been ridiculous. They think very highly of him, and they're not going to let him go for peanuts. But
okay, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that it almost feels like the longer you hold on to a guy, the less you can get for him, because teams are like, what, you're just going to let him walk for nothing?
Yep. Yeah.
Take it or leave it, fellas.
Well, and on top of that, if you were going to go for Bichette or Vlad, I know it's a situational thing by team, but let's flip it around. If you were the Blue Jays, who would you rather lose?
It depends on the day, honestly. I would probably almost rather lose Vlad, because you can find a power hitting first baseman. But a freak athlete playing middle infield and hitting the way Bo Bichette doesn't come along all the time.
That is a really interesting take. I don't disagree with you. I just didn't see you coming up with that answer. Or falling on that side of the line, I guess, is more accurate. So, in a quote with Rob Longley of Toronto Sun, Kevin Gosman said, "The reality is, if we don't play well, this team will not be together for much longer." And GM Ross Atkins also said there's a massive sense of urgency sort of to get things turned around. So, super duh. I don't think that comes as any surprise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because they're in it right now, but a good weekend or a bad weekend can change things for them. So,
well, and a good or a bad weekend across the table in the division or across the league, it's so dependent. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. So Blue Jays trade rumors, that's really interesting. But now I did a little bit of a deep dive this afternoon, Brad. I was watching the game and I had a little bit of time. And I decided before we play Contenders or Pretenders, let's go through and look at some league leaders to kind of give us an idea of what, who we might be looking at. So, leading the league in home runs, leading all of MLB in home runs, is the Yankees. As of this afternoon,
is this why you did this?
Yeah, well, they had 74 when I started this. It might have gone up to 75. I don't remember, but the Phillies lead the league in runs with 272. The Dodgers lead in walks, 205. Strikeouts by batters, so at the plate, Seattle has the most strikeouts at the plate with 511.
Probably not even close.
No, it wasn't that close.
It's strikeout in bunches all the time.
Yeah. Houston has the best average in Major League Baseball, 264 across the team. The Yankees have the MLB's best ERA at 291. Cleveland has the most saves at 18, but that is tied with New York at the Yankees at 18. Fewest hits allowed. What's that?
Does that count Clay Holmes' save today?
Nope. So apparently I needed to have updated this. Good call. So that would be New York Yankees lead 19. Fewest hits allowed by a club would be Baltimore at 347. Fewest earned runs, Yankees, 148. fewest home runs allowed. Mets 38. I thought that was really interesting that the Mets have allowed the fewest home runs. Walks allowed by a pitching crew. Twins have the most walks allowed out of at 122. Strikeouts by a pitching staff is the Phillies, actually, with 466 strikeouts as a pitching staff. Whip, Seattle leads with whip at 1.09. And pitching averages against, get this, if you're going to play the Rockies, you're going to have the best average.
That's the way it's been for decades.
Yeah.
Even
279 hit. 279 teams are hitting a collective 279 against Colorado's pitching. And the Reds lead the stolen base category with 79. I think 70 of them are earmarked for Ellie De La Cruz, whether he's snatched them away or not.
It feels like it.
I know. Exactly. Okay, so there's a lot. Do you have anything you want to add to that or that you found interesting?
Well, it's so funny seeing the difference between the Mariners pitching staff and the Mariners offense because, like I said, they strike out a ton. And the pitching staff, like the reason they lose is not because the pitching staff has given up a bunch of runs. It's because the pitching staff gives up a couple home runs and then the offense is striking out, so they're not having productive at-bats.
Yeah.
Despite having made a bunch of moves in the offseason in the name of trying to reduce strikeouts at the plate.
Yeah.
It didn't work. There's something going on there that is really weird. So there's this. I just want to throw this in there real quick. Last thing with this.
Do it.
So last Friday, Dylan Moore of the Mariners was on foul territory, and they said, "What's up with the offense? Like, what's happening?" And he said, the way he said it was like it's a mantra, and his tone was pretty flippant. He's like, "We're just trying to score one more run than what our pitching staff will allow."
Oh boy.
I was like, okay, that tells me that guys still have not bought into the offensive coordinator, which they hired this year, and his philosophy. Like,
yep,
there is a problem there. Everybody's still trying, but there's a problem going on in the clubhouse, despite the team being in first place.
Yeah. You know, the thing that was interesting to me about this is how many of these teams are in the East, whether it's the American League or the National League. There seems to be a heavy weighted sort of parity going on. That's a problem.
It's loaded.
It's definitely loaded. Yeah. I mean, you've got the Dodgers on here, you've got Houston on here, you've got Cincinnati on here, but anyway, that's just interesting. All right, so there's a little detail for you. Now, Brad, let's get into contenders or pretenders.
Okay.
Because we've got some really, I think, interesting situations. And it's not as cut and dried as you would think. So let's start with the AL East. Let's go with Boston. Okay.
Okay.
Boston is 26-24. They're 8 games back, which is, a lot. They're 8 games back. But in the wild card situation, they're 5 games or half a game back. Sorry, they're a half a game up in the wild card.
Sorry. No, you're right. You were right. Half a game back. I apologize. I was looking at the plus sign for the Orioles.
Things changed earlier. So, what do you think of the Red Sox? Are they contenders or are they pretenders?
They're contenders. I'm going to say they're contenders. And we said from the beginning of the season, and we said last year, and it's another one of those teams that has too much talent across the board to be bad.
Yeah.
Right? That it's just like they can't all click together all at once. They can't get the pitching and the defense to match up with the offense. It's like they're either scoring a bunch of runs, but they're giving up a bunch of runs, or they're not giving up any runs, but they're not scoring any runs. So it seems like they're clicking better now. Sitting half a game back in the wild card. I'm going to go with contenders on that.
Yeah, I think
wild card contenders.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think the fact that they've clawed their way up from the cellar holds some water. And I think Tampa Bay and Toronto have helped them out by losing obviously.
Right.
But they're now above 500. When we had this conversation last time, I don't think they were above 500. So at this point, you can't count them out, and we've all been sleeping on them, myself especially. I'll go ahead and admit it, because that's where I like to live, is just not thinking about the Red Sox. It's better for me if I don't have to.
Well, not thinking about them being good, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I prefer when they're in the cellar. But as a baseball fan, regardless of my affiliations, I have to say that I think they're contenders as well. And everybody, I don't think we need to watch out in the division race, but I do think that wild card's going to get sticky.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the Central, because I don't think anything else is worth discussing in the East. Do you?
Well, aside the fact that the Orioles and the Yankees are both World Series contenders, yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we already know. These are just question marks. Okay, so let's go to the Central. I think Cleveland makes a lot of sense. We don't have to talk about them, but Kansas City, 32-19, game and a half back of Cleveland, but 5 games up. Contending? Are they contending, or is this a big old fake?
Dude, they are contending for that division all year long.
Yeah, they are.
Like I said, Brig, look
I
out
know.
for the Royals.
They're 8-2 in their last 10. They've got a 6-game win streak going on right now.
Dude, they have figured out that bullpen thing, and they are going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
They
so
are
contending for the division.
Yep.
Okay, so that brings us to Minnesota, because Minnesota is in the mix at 26-23, 6.5 games back in the division. They fall dead even in the wild card standings. They are 3-7 in their last 10, though, with 2 wins.
Because they lost
coming
7
on 2
in a row.
I know. I know.
They've almost erased their winning streak in their standings. Gosh.
Well, and didn't they just beat Toronto? Isn't that who they beat to snap this problem? I'm pretty sure it was.
So, yeah.
Anyway,
probably. I'll double check it.
Okay, so but regardless of who they played against, do you think that they are going to hang in there, contend, pretend, and at what level? I mean, I have my answer, but I want to know what you think.
It was the Nets. It was the Nats. Sorry,
they beat the Nats.
10-0 and then 3-2. So, yeah, no, I think they're pretenders. I think you were right the first time around.
Yes, sir.
Like, I don't know.
I'm not buying it.
They're a weird team. They're going to be streaky all season long, but I feel like this is what's going to happen: is they're going to go on a winning streak and then they'll go on a losing streak that'll cancel it out.
Yep, I totally agree. Okay, so then the belle of the ball, Detroit Tigers, because we've been riding high on them, but now they're 23-27, 10 games back, 3.5 games out of the wild card, 3-7 as well in their last 10, and on a 5-game dump. Are they the contenders we thought they were, or are they just faking it the whole time?
I think they're wild card contenders still.
Okay.
Here's the thing: is they know how to score late, which is a big deal, a really big deal. They just need to figure out how to score early, right?
Yeah.
Like that will solve, I think, a lot of their problems. I don't think they're going to come back. They're not going to string together enough to come back and contend for the division with the Royals and the Guardians. Sorry, Cleveland. I apologize.
Thank you.
But I do feel like they'll string together enough that they'll pass the Twins in the standings and they'll be contending for the wild card come the end of the year.
Yeah, that's what I would put them at as well. That makes sense to me. Okay, AL West. Are the Seattle Mariners contending or pretending, Brad? 27-24. There's no games back. But there's dead even in the wild card. If they don't make it to the division, they would be that maybe
they're
in the wild card.
They're gonna have to win.
Yeah,
the division.
They are.
So
they're 5-5. They've lost 2 in a row, both to the Yankees, both in the Boogie Down. But they won 2 games in the Boogie Down.
I was going to say that they split that series. They didn't lose the series.
I wanted to make it very clear.
And by the way, I owe your daughter one of these. Okay. Anyway,
thank you.
So
I'll make sure
this is the thing.
Message.
They dropped 2 to the Orioles. They dropped 2 to the Yankees, but they won 2 against the Yankees.
Yeah.
There are a lot of days it feels like they're contending because there are a lot of warts, especially offensively. The defense and that pitching is really good,
Yeah, it's
but
good.
that offense has some major problems that they're going to have to sort out. And I think they're starting to move some dominoes pieces to get those sorted out. One of the big problems is that the big free agent signing this offseason, Mitch Garver,
Yeah,
is below the Mendoza line by a
yeah,
lot.
a
He's the
lot.
dude who's supposed to be hitting, and he's not. So it's like there's a lot of solutions to the offense potentially in the minors. There's a lot of pieces you can trade for a really good bat in the minors, but you just paid this dude. So what do you do with him?
Yeah, get him a Geico
You can move
commercial and
him.
hope that works. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna say Contenders because it's there. Defensively, pitching wise, it's there. They're
Yeah.
just like a little tweak away from the offense clicking. Julio was batting sixth today to take some pressure off of him. Right?
Sixth. I couldn't believe that.
But you know
I
what?
even let you know.
Rick, he went on that tear last August, right? You know
Yeah,
where he
yeah,
was
yeah.
batting right before that happened?
What?
Sixth.
Oh.
So
Wah.
yeah.
Okay, so the reigning champion Texas Rangers 24-27, 3 games back in the division, 3 games back in the wild card, 2-8 in their last 10 with a 4-game losing streak. Are they just how are they playing this well? How are they this high up in the division? That's really what I want to know.
Everybody's been so bad. Because
Yeah.
I think they're pretenders. I don't think they're contenders for anything.
I don't even
They're
not even
not going to make the
anything.
wild card. They're going to continue to fall, and they're not going to contend for the division.
Yep.
But the Astros got off to a horrendous start. The A's are not very good. They're fine, but they're not very for who they are. But they're not very good. The Angels are not very good.
No.
So they've just kind of been able to sit above worse teams. But Houston is a game and a half back. They're going to catch them in a couple days.
Yeah. Houston, I think so. Let's ask the Houston question: are they contenders or pretenders? I think it's pretty serious that they're contenders.
I think they're contenders. We should never have gotten them to begin with. It was just a rough start. They started bad last year too.
They did. Okay, let's move quick. NL East. We've got the Phillies leading the pack. They're no doubters for me at this point, so I'm not even going to worry about asking the contender pretender question.
Even if the Braves figure something out and overtake them in the standings, they're going to contend.
Yeah,
they're World Series contenders.
I agree. Atlanta, are they?
I'm still going to call them contenders. I can't
me
not.
Too.
They have too much talent to not be.
Everybody else
are
is
without Spencer Strider and for however long, but I don't care. There's too much talent on that team for them to not be contenders.
I think the rest of the East
on Monday was the bullpen.
Yeah.
Even
that was the problem.
Who gave up the runs had been lights out.
Yeah. I think the rest of the NL East is all not even pretending. So we'll just move on.
Okay.
NL Central. The Brewers are 28-21 with 4-6 in their last 10. They are it's one of those situations again where if they don't win the division, then they're going to have to fight over that wild card spot. They're 2 games ahead of the nearest Chicago Cubs, and the Cubs and Cardinals are only 5 games back. The Cubs and Cardinals are going to play. Like, I think it's this weekend. I have to go look.
I can take a look.
I've got it right here. I'm pretty sure that they play this weekend. Yep, they play this weekend in St. Louis. So that's going to wreak havoc on this situation here. But what do you think? Are the Milwaukee Brewers contenders, or are they pretending?
I think they're contending. They're in a rough patch right now, but I think they're contenders. I think they showed us who they were early on. They've figured some things out. That they've taken it's weird because they took a couple steps back in different places, but they seem to have figured out how to take a step forward to compensate for that.
I agree. They have a plus 38 run differential, and I think that's what does it for me in the division race. Everybody else is sitting below 0 in the run differential. They're in the negative. I think that the Cubs, are also contenders, though. I think that they're also experiencing a bunch of weird.
Yeah,
but they're still contenders.
The Cubs are.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, though, I think are pretenders. They're
pretenders.
Yeah, there are a lot of problems with that team, and they're not going to be able to overcome them.
They're going to play rough with everybody else, though. You just watch. They're going to just spoil. Okay, let's go to the West. The Dodgers, 33-19. Don't even worry about them. For me, it comes down to the Padres and the Giants. The Padres are 27 and 26, just barely above 500, 6.5 games back. They hold that 0 spot in the wild card, though. 5-5 in their last 10, 2 wins. That's a streak, Brad. And we are
2 in a row.
And we're wondering, Brad, what do you think? They have a plus 16 road differential compared to the Dodgers plus 77. Are they contenders or pretenders?
I think the Padres are contenders. They should be. They should have been all along. They should have been for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
They seem to have figured something out along the way, and finally, and I think they're going to be contending for the wild card the rest of the way. They ought to be.
Yeah.
If they're not, then shame on them. They just blow it up.
I think what's happening in San Diego has something to do with Luis Ariz, and I don't know that it has everything to do with his on-the-field performance because he's only just started to pick it up a little bit the last 2 days. But I think that it might be a clubhouse presence thing. I think that also the Padres are going to be one to watch when it comes to the deadline. Depending on what they do at the deadline will be the ultimate deciding factor for me on whether they're contending or pretending, honestly. Because it's going to slide on that line either way, one way or the other. Now, San Francisco, 25 and 20.
I don't think they're going to make a bunch of moves like the Angels did last year and go all in on crappy players.
No.
Right? Like, I think they're going to be meticulous because they have to be with their payroll.
Yeah.
When it comes time for the trade deadline, but I think they're going to be buyers because they can.
Yeah, I think they'll be buyers. Now the Giants are 7.5 games back of the Dodgers. They're 1 game back in the wild card, 25 and 26, just on the opposite side of that 500 line. But they're 7-3 in their last 10, and they've won 2 in a row as well. Are they actually contenders, or are they trying to, are we getting deked here?
I think they're pretenders. This is a hot streak.
Yeah.
Everybody gets hot at one point. Even the A's last year. I know I go back to the A's all the time. They got for like 2 weeks last year. We're like, whoa, look out for the A's. And then they got smashed again.
Yeah.
So
now, for the sake of argument, the Arizona Diamondbacks are 24 and 26. They're 8 games back. But if you start to look at the math, it's only like a half a game and a game and a half a game or whatever. So they're 6-4 in the last 10 with a 2-run or a 2-game win pair.
They're going back-to-back games.
I want to know if you think, are they contending still, or are they a lost cause?
They're contending for the wild card. They've got a +7 run differential, so they're doing something right along the way. Yeah. And I know that run differential isn't the be-all, end-all, but it does to me indicate that you've got something going on somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So Corbin Carroll really gets going. Christian Walker really gets going. Ketel Marte really gets going, like we know those guys can.
Yeah.
They got a pretty dang good pitching staff. I don't think Eduardo Rodriguez has even pitched yet.
It'll be interesting to watch. That NL East, that wild card race will come down to the NL East, it looks like, and that'll be really interesting. Baseball family, if you like what we're doing, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review the show. We are bringing you a full-length episode every Tuesday morning. This Thursday Night Live every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. throughout the season. And if you get with us on YouTube, you'll see we drop content every single day. Long form, short form, everything in between. So if you don't have time to watch the full hour-long episode, don't sleep on it, because we'll be breaking those up, and you get little snippets of the show that you can engage with and comment on and tell us if you think we're totally wrong, because that happens. Not that we're wrong, but that people tell us we're wrong. just kidding.
I owned a bad take a couple weeks ago. It's fine.
You did, and I the Mookie Betts one, and I got porched once, so it's all good. All right, the national TV schedule for the weekend. These are all Eastern Standard Times. Brad, tell us about Friday.
Friday night, your free MLB TV free game of the day. Is Houston at Oakland. That game is at 9:40 p.m. on Apple TV Plus. You've got the Rangers at the Twins at 7:10 p.m. and also at 7:10 p.m. you've got the Brewers, the Red Sox.
That's correct.
That's-
Saturday, MLB TV free game of the day will feature the Blue Jays in Minnesota facing the Twins. That's at 2:10 p.m. Fox will have your doubleheader, depending on your region, that night, 7:15 p.m. on Saturday. You'll either watch the Dodgers in Cincinnati or the Cubs in St. Louis. And then
Sorry, Brig,
FS1,
that's
the late
Texas and
game.
Minnesota.
Huh?
That's Texas and Minnesota for the MLB.
Oh, sorry.
game today.
Yeah, typo. Texas and Minnesota. Your FS1 late night baseball, unless you're on the West Coast, is Miami at Arizona. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Daylight Time or whatever kind of time we're in right now.
Daylight.
Go ahead with Sunday.
MLB TV free game of the day is the Giants at the Mets at 1:40 p.m. On Roku, you will get the Blue Jays at the Tigers at 11:35 a.m. That's an early game. Wake Up in Baseball is back.
I was just going to say, we now have Wake Up in Baseball again.
We do.
It's awesome.
And then your Sunday night game on ESPN is the Cubs at the Cardinals. Of course, ESPN would have that game. That is at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. You know what's funny? I feel like if both of those teams were 15 games below 500, the absolute bottom of the AL Central, that ESPN would still want to show that game.
For sure, dude.
They'd be like, Cubs and Cards? Yeah, we don't care.
We want that one.
Cubs and Cards.
Well, and can you blame them?
No.
It's always interesting. It's always an interesting series.
Well, they want the names. They don't care about the implications. They want the names. That's all it is.
Exactly. All right, Brad, which series are you going to be paying attention to this weekend?
Obviously, the Mariners and the Nats. That's going to be a great opportunity to get right after dropping 2 in a row to the Yankees. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Anything
else?
The Dodgers and the Reds. The Reds played the Dodgers really well last week, and I am so excited for this. I want to see what Ellie De La Cruz does again, see if the Dodgers learned anything from last week. Let him take 4 bags in a row. The Rangers and the Twins. I'm keeping an eye on the Rangers all the time. And then the other one is the Astros at the A's, because the A's are a problem. The Astros are getting things right. I want to see what happens.
This weekend, I'm going to be watching the Royals and the Rays. I think that's really going to be a fun test for both teams. It's an opportunity for the Royals to really work some things out against a team that has a lot of talent, but has some warts, like you say, some struggle bus problems. So we'll see what they can do. Obviously, I'll be watching, the Yankees on the West Coast play the Padres. That's going to be a fascinating series for me. And then if you want to watch beatdown baseball, which is always fun, Orioles will be in Chicago South Side playing the White Sox, and that'll be should be a no-brainer slugfest or a bomb, carpet bombing. That's the term I was looking for.
That's the one right there.
And then the Phillies will be in Colorado, another carpet bomb opportunity. So I think that'll be interesting. But the one, like you said, the Reds at Dodgers, that's going to be a really interesting series as well.
It'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that one.
Baseball family, thanks for sticking with us. Sorry we were a little late tonight, but we're doing the best we can for you to bring you the best baseball content every single day. Stay tuned with us. Join us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, as well as YouTube and other places. And don't forget, we have a merch shop on millions.co. Go to millions.co, search for Baseball Together, and you can shop the merch for the show. Baseball family, thanks for joining us. And with that, we will catch you on Tuesday.